Imagine for a moment that the universe is not a place of random chaos, but a living, breathing field, a field that listens, a field that mirrors, a field that responds, not to your words, not to your wants, not even to your deepest dreams, but to one single thing, your state of being. That's it. Your dominant internal state is the signal that the quantum field hears and matches. It's not about what you post, what you plan, what you hope. It's about what you are, what you radiate, what you embody. And most people miss this. They think the quantum field is like a vending machine. If I visualize hard enough, if I meditate long enough, if I script in my journal with enough detail, I'll get what I want. But the field doesn't respond to rituals. It responds to resonance. It's not moved by effort, it's moved by energy. And energy is not your words. Energy is what lives beneath your words. It's what pulses behind your eyes, what hums beneath your thoughts, and what flows through your breath when no one's watching. And this is where it gets real. You can't fake your frequency, you can say all the right things, you can visualize your dream life every morning, but if your dominant state is doubt, if your nervous system is wired for fear, if your emotions are anchored in lack, the field will respond to that, not your vision board. The field is always tuned into your true signal, not the one you wish you had, but the one you've rehearsed the most. So what is that signal really? It's your baseline. It's the emotional flavor you live in, it's the thoughts you normalize, the choices you default to, the self-talk that loops when things get quiet. It's what you revert to when you're tired, when you're tested, when no one's validating you. And if that baseline is rooted in fear, worry, shame, guilt, the field mirrors it with precision, not to punish you, but because it's loyal to coherence. And coherence means matching vibration, coherence means like attracts like, and the quantum field is coherence incarnate. It reflects you as you are, not as you pretend to be, and not as you hope to be. So how do you shift your signal? Not through force, but through familiarity. You must become more familiar with the energy of your desired state than you are with the energy of your current limitations. And that takes practice. Not just intellectual understanding, but emotional rehearsal, physiological repetition, nervous system retraining. Because the body remembers the old signal, and the body will keep broadcasting the old signal until you teach it something new. And the teaching happens through presence, through breath, through choice. Every time you pause the old pattern and choose differently, you shift the signal. Every time you respond instead of react, you shift the signal. Every time you feel the fear and move with love anyway, you shift the signal. And the field listens. It always listens. It doesn't need a request, it doesn't wait for permission, it just mirrors. And what it mirrors is your dominant vibration over time, not your one-time high vibe moment, but your repeated, rehearsed, stabilized state. And this is why so many people feel stuck. They do all the things, they read the books, they repeat the affirmations, but their state doesn't change, their identity doesn't shift. They're still operating from the same energetic signature. And the field keeps saying yes to that, not because it's cruel, but because it's accurate, it's neutral, it's scientific, it's a mirror, not a judge. And that mirror can become your ally the moment you stop negotiating with it and start broadcasting a new truth, a new frequency, a new self, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard, when it's dark, when it's quiet. Because that's when your true signal is calibrated, that's when your embodiment is tested, that's when you become magnetic, not because you're perfect, but because you're coherent, coherent in your belief, coherent in your action, coherent in your identity. And coherence is clarity. And clarity is power. And power in the quantum field is presence, real, felt, consistent presence, the kind that doesn't chase, but calls in, the kind that doesn't push, but pulls, the kind that doesn't hope, but knows. And knowing is the frequency the field trusts, not wishing, not needing, not pleading, knowing. And you don't need proof to know, you need practice. You don't need signs, you need state. You don't need to wait, you need to remember. Remember who you are, remember what you're capable of, remember that your signal is your access code. And you can change that signal, not by faking it, but by facing it. By facing the parts of you that have been broadcasting fear and gently teaching them safety. By facing the patterns that have been rooted in lack and choosing abundance anyway. By facing the moments when the old self wants to run and choosing to stay, choosing to breathe, choosing to believe. And that choice, made enough times, becomes a baseline. And that baseline becomes your new broadcast. And the field cannot ignore a new broadcast. It must respond, it must reflect, it must rearrange, because that's the law of resonance. And resonance doesn't lie, it doesn't bend, it doesn't skip steps, it matches and multiplies. So if you want a new reality, don't ask what you should do, ask who you must become. Who is the version of you that the life you want belongs to? How do they feel? How do they speak? How do they walk into a room? How do they talk to themselves? How do they hold themselves when no one's looking? And then become that. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, now. Because now is the only point of power in the quantum field. Now is the only doorway through which all timelines collapse and converge. Now is where your signal speaks the loudest. And when your signal speaks the loudest, the field doesn't hesitate, it moves instantly, not always visibly, but always energetically. It begins to rearrange people, places, pathways, probabilities around your new broadcast. And this is what most miss. They look for instant results, and when they don't see them, they collapse the signal, they doubt the shift, they abandon the embodiment and return to the old. But the field isn't slow, it's just subtle at first, like ripples beneath the surface, like roots growing underground before the bloom. And the more stable your signal, the faster the bloom, the more consistent your frequency, the stronger the shift. And that consistency doesn't require perfection, it requires return to the truth, return to the body, return to the version of you that you've chosen. And that version exists now, not as a future goal, but as a present identity, a frequency you can step into in this breath. And the field doesn't care how long you've been stuck, it cares how strong your broadcast is right now. The field is present moment intelligence. It's not tracking your past failures or measuring your worth, it's scanning your coherence. And coherence is the alignment of thought, emotion, and action. When what you think matches what you feel and matches what you do, you become a signal of integrity. And that signal is magnetic, it moves matter, it bends timelines, it draws people who are vibrating at your level, it draws opportunities that reflect your new readiness. And readiness is not about preparation, it's about alignment. You're ready when you match the thing you say you want. You're ready when you no longer chase but channel, when you no longer wish but embody. And embodiment isn't a costume, it's not acting, it's not faking, it's feeling it in your cells, it's remembering who you were before the fear, before the conditioning, before the doubt. It's peeling back the layers of false identity and stepping into the truth that was always there. And that truth is not a destination, it's a decision. It's the decision to stop living according to old signals, to stop looping in old beliefs, to stop reacting from old wounds, and instead to breathe from the new, speak from the new, walk from the new. And you don't do it all at once, you do it one moment at a time, one breath at a time, one choice at a time. And each choice becomes a vote for the future, each choice becomes a brick in the new timeline, each choice tells the field, I'm serious, I'm committed, I'm ready. And the field always listens, it always echoes, it always reflects. And the reflection will come, not because you deserve it, but because you are it. And that's the difference most people miss. They wait to feel worthy, they wait to be chosen, they wait to be validated before they change their state. But the field doesn't wait, the field doesn't choose for you, the field responds to what you claim and what you stabilize. And this is your reminder, you don't have to fix your life to shift your frequency, you shift your frequency and watch your life reconfigure around it, not because of magic, but because of mechanics, energetic mechanics, vibrational mechanics, the math of magnetism. And that magnetism is not about force, it's about flow, not about domination but alignment. And when you align with the life you say you want, when you feel its frequency in your breath, in your bones, in your choices, reality moves mountains to meet you. Because it must, not out of kindness, but out of law, the law of resonance, the law of identity, the law of reflection. And that reflection becomes your compass, it becomes your feedback, your confirmation, not that you're doing it perfectly, but that you're doing it consistently. And consistency is what turns practice into power, into presence, into proof. Because eventually you won't need to believe it, you'll be it, you won't need to affirm it, you'll live it. And when you live it, the quantum field doesn't hesitate, It doesn't negotiate, it matches instantly because it always has and always will, because that's what it does, not as a reward, but as a mirror. And that mirror never lies, it only reflects the loudest signal. So make your signal intentional, make your baseline sacred, make your state the center of your strategy, and the field will meet you where you are and raise you into what you've become. And what you've become is not just an upgraded version of the old you, it's a completely new frequency, a reality in motion, a presence that no longer tolerates dissonance. And this is where things accelerate, because the quantum doesn't just respond to high energy, it responds to stable energy, not hype but harmony, not intensity but integrity. And when your energy becomes steady, not because everything is perfect, but because you've chosen your state as your foundation, the universe doesn't just reflect it, it amplifies it, it expands it, it confirms it through people who match your truth, through situations that validate your shift, through outcomes that feel like alignment, not effort. And this is the moment the old you starts to dissolve, because it can't coexist with the signal you now stabilize, and it will try to pull you back with familiar thoughts, with familiar patterns, with old emotional echoes. But now you recognize them, not as warnings but as remnants, and remnants have no power unless you feed them, and you don't feed them anymore, because your focus is your fuel, and your fuel is now clarity, direction, coherence. And you return to this again and again because this is the training, this is the mastery, this is how you sculpt the signal that sculpts reality. And the sculpting never ends, it evolves, it refines, it expands, because the field is infinite, and you are a fractal of that infinity, and your evolution is the field evolving itself through you, not because you are broken, but because you are creative, not because you lack, but because you are potential unfolding. And the unfolding accelerates with awareness, with embodiment, with surrender to the state before the sight, to the being before the proof. And in that surrender is power, because most people try to control what they don't yet trust, but the quantum doesn't respond to control, it responds to congruence, and congruence is the frequency of I am this, not I want this, not I wish for this, but I am this. And that I am is the code that unlocks the next level, not because it earns it, but because it aligns with it, because timelines don't open by logic, they open by identity, by resonance, by the brave decision to live now as the version of you that used to only exist in your dreams. And the moment you do that, you collapse the distance between dream and reality, you shorten the gap between desire and experience, not by pushing harder, but by choosing deeper. And the field hears that choice, it feels that choice, it reflects that choice in every mirror you meet. And when you see yourself reflected back, you'll know, not that you're finally enough, but that you always were, and now you're remembering. And this remembering is the real transformation, because you're not adding something new, you're releasing everything that wasn't you, you're stripping away the static so the signal can sing, so it can transmit clearly, boldly, unshakably. And when that happens, reality becomes responsive at a pace you've never known, things line up, people align, breakthroughs land, ideas explode forward, paths reveal themselves. And what felt far becomes close, what felt stuck begins to move, what felt complicated feels simple. And that simplicity is not because life got easier, it's because you got clearer, you stopped negotiating with your doubts, and started collaborating with your truth, you stopped asking for permission, and started broadcasting your signal without apology, without pause, without performance. And that broadcast changes everything, not instantly but inevitably, because when you stabilize the frequency, the field has no choice but to mirror it again and again and again, not out of fairness, but out of fidelity, fidelity to the law of resonance, fidelity to the architecture of the universe, fidelity to the truth that what you are is always louder than what you want. And what you are is a vibration, a field, a pattern of energy that never lies, and the field listens to that pattern like a tuning fork. It doesn't care about your goals, your vision board, or your affirmations if they're not backed by the frequency of truth, because the quantum is not judging you, it's responding to you, and the response is always accurate, always fair, always honest, even if it's not what you hoped for, because it's not about hope, it's about harmony, and harmony means alignment across thought, emotion, belief, and action. It means your internal orchestra is playing the same song, not one section singing abundance while another plays lack, Not one voice declaring readiness while another whispers fear, and the truth is, we all have static, we all have discord. But the leap comes when you decide to clean the channel, not with shame but with presence, not with force but with focus, by choosing moment by moment to upgrade the signal, by choosing again and again. To be who you said you'd be when you made that vision, to feel what you said you'd feel when the future arrived, not because it's here, but because you are, and that's the frequency the field responds to, the feeling of alreadiness, the state of alreadiness. Not fake it till you make it, but live it till it lands, walk it till it's real, embody it until the world has no choice but to recognize you, because the field always reflects your signal, not your timeline, not your effort, your signal. And when your signal stabilizes before the outcome, you collapse the space between the two, you tell the universe, I am not waiting, I am creating, I am not hoping, I am holding, and that holding is magnetic, it pulls the invisible into the visible, it draws the unseen into the seen, not as magic but as mathematics. Energy obeys structure, frequency obeys embodiment, and embodiment is how you tune the dial. It's how you say, I'm not visiting this new self, I am becoming it, I'm not flirting with this identity, I'm marrying it, and marriage is commitment, it's presence, it's consistency, it's showing up even when it's not exciting, even when it's not comfortable, even when it's not yet confirmed by results, because results don't create reality, state does, and your state is the strongest signal you'll ever send, stronger than your words, your resume, your branding, your strategy, and when your state is clear, the strategy aligns. When your state is clean, the steps emerge. When your state is strong, the story shifts, and that shift is the miracle you've been waiting for, not something that happens to you, something that happens through you, because the quantum field doesn't deliver outcomes, it delivers mirrors, and your job is to love what's reflected, not because you like it, but because it's telling you the truth, and from that truth, you get to choose again, to calibrate again, to fine-tune again and again and again, until the only thing left in your signal is clarity, courage, coherence, and in that coherence, your life becomes a match, not for your fantasy, but for your frequency, and when that frequency is wholeness, not need, is truth, not trend, is grounded, not grasping, you'll watch reality bend around you, not because you're controlling it, but because you've stopped resisting who you really are, and that self, that real self, is the one the field has been waiting to meet, the one the timeline has been building for, the one your soul already knows. And when you meet that self and say yes and stay there, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when it's invisible, the quantum listens and it whispers back, finally you're home. Because home is not a place, it's a state, it's a frequency, it's the felt sense of truth inside your bones, where you're no longer chasing signs, you are the sign, no longer waiting for alignment, you are alignment. And in that alignment, the field becomes a friend, not a force to conquer, not a puzzle to solve, but a partner in your becoming, and your becoming never stops. It evolves, it refines, it deepens, and the more you live from this place, the more natural it feels, the more inevitable. The shifts become, not because you've mastered the matrix, but because you've mastered your signal, and signal is everything. It's the code beneath the code, the pulse beneath the plan, the hum beneath the hustle. And when your hum is steady, when your pulse is clear, when your code is coherent, you become untouchable, not in the sense of avoidance, but in the sense of integrity, because integrity is power, it's gravity, it's magnetism, and the quantum responds to that instantly, unconditionally, faithfully. And when your integrity becomes your baseline, when your coherence becomes your compass, when your alignment becomes your home, you stop chasing timelines, and you start choosing them, not from fear, but from fullness, not from scarcity, but from sovereignty, not from identity, but from essence, and that essence, that pure raw soul frequency, is the one thing the quantum responds to every time, not sometimes, not maybe, not eventually, every time. And now you know, now you feel, now you remember, it's not about learning more, it's about living more, it's not about forcing results, it's about flowing truth. And when you flow truth, the field follows, it has to, it always does. So now the question is simple, will you keep waiting, or will you start vibrating? Will you keep checking, or will you keep choosing? Will you keep doubting, or will you start declaring? And if you're ready to declare, then declare it, with your breath, with your belief, with your body, with your behavior, with your baseline, and watch how fast the field listens, not to what you want, but to what you are.